What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Point Man Podcast. I'm your host, John Imperial, and I am here today with Phil Pelletier. Phil, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, John. How you doing tonight?
Hanging in there. We had a good round of golf this morning, and
Well, it was around.
yeah, some good shots, some pure shanks.
Yep.
But it was just good to be back on the course after a few months for me.
Has it been that long for you?
Yeah, I think so. Probably. I don't know.
I've been trying to get out. I've been out probably once a week for the last couple weeks, and it's been nice.
Yeah.
Not that I've noticed it in my game, but it just feels good.
Yeah, exactly. I think the last time I was out was with you and my dad up at Andrew middle of summer. So
Yep, that was good.
Yeah, definitely good, and good to be out there. How's the family been? All right?
Family's good.
There you go.
School has started.
Yeah. How's the boat been?
Boat is about to go away.
I know. How's that?
That's bittersweet.
Yeah.
It's more bitter, actually. It's not sweet at all.
I bet. No more accidents on the boat of shanking our legs off I'm not going to include you in that, but shanking my leg off the boat trailer.
Yeah, no, it's funny. No one else seems to jump on the trailer when I'm driving around with it. It's kind of weird.
Right. Well, today we are with Mark DiBona. Mark is a board member for the organization BlueHelp, and he's here with us on the phone. Mark, what's going on, bud?
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. It's truly a pleasure. I'm really excited about this.
Oh, me too. It's great that you're doing this, and I'm happy that you were able to reach out. And I originally had sent an email to ask for like the president of BlueHelp, but I didn't know much about how the organization was run and how many people were on it. So I'm glad that you reached out to us and prepared to have a good conversation.
Yeah, pinch hitting for our president Karen.
Yeah.
But hopefully I can fill her shoes, and I think I can. So I'm kind of cocky, but I think I'll give it a good shot.
Awesome.
So.
Awesome. Well, today we usually start off the podcast with a drink in hand. So today we are drinking what, Phil? What'd you bring over?
This is a brew from Mass Landing Brew Company.
That?
That is, you're going to make me look because I didn't do my homework.
Oh, come on now.
It's out of Westbrook, Maine.
Okay.
And I just picked this up this weekend, and it's good. It's a double dry hop India Pale Ale.
Oh, nice.
I think, like most people, I look at the can art.
Yeah.
And if it looks cool, then I'll give it a second look.
That's how I buy my wine.
Yeah.
When I buy wine. If it looks cool, I buy it.
Yeah, I don't admit I buy wine.
Oh, hey, why not?
Just kidding.
No, but I know I buy my
Well,
IPAs.
talking about labels, there's a wine here in Florida. I don't know if it's first of all, it's great to talk to people from back home.
Oh, yeah.
Second of all, in my presentations I talk about ass kissers in the agencies,
Yep.
who climb the ladder. And my wife found a bottle of wine called Ass Kisser, believe it or not.
That's awesome.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's a pretty good wine. I'm not an ass kisser, but it's a pretty good wine.
Well, there's a winery near my fiance's hometown of Truro, Mass, and the way that they market the wine that we both like is it's the wine bottles itself in the shape of a lighthouse. Like, that's pretty freaking
Nice.
neat. Yeah,
It's very nice.
yeah, something
Nice.
different, But
Right.
So what do you have down there, Mark? What are you drinking tonight?
I just cracked open Sam Adams Oktoberfest.
Oktoberfest.
I'm toasting you guys right now as we speak.
Festive. Well, here's to you.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, I know they came out with the Oktoberfest, the last week of August, I think it was out, maybe even before that.
Maybe before. It's been out.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't really like it how they always do that. It seems, way too early.
Every year it's earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, in Florida, it's either hot or hot, so really not much of a change of season here. So,
Yeah.
But usually my beer choice is the Boston Lager.
Okay.
That's my choice, but I'm not. I just this was on sale, so that's why I bought it.
Oh, there you go.
So,
Yeah. Do they have Yingling down there?
oh yeah, they do. Yeah,
Yeah.
good beer. Yep.
I just I used to love it when I lived in North Carolina, and I just saw that they're partnering with Coors. I think it was
Really?
Coors, and so now they're going to hope to get a better nationwide distribution.
That's
So,
what they want is more
Nice.
distribution.
Yeah,
Okay. Huh. That's a good beer to have.
it's a great beer.
And it's very few and far between in the Northeast, at least in New Hampshire it is.
Yeah, you got to go to like New York or Southern Mass, I think, to get it.
Yeah. So is there much of that Sam Adams down in Florida? Or are they
Yeah, it's actually huge in Florida. Sam Adams, I see the trucks all the time, and it's all over the place. It actually reminded me of a story. when I was, I hate to say when I was a kid, but when I was younger,
Yeah.
I can remember taking a trip from Massachusetts to New Hampshire on Sunday to buy my beer. You know,
Because they had those blue laws down in Mass that, you know, if you were in the middle of
they
state,
did. Yeah, I never could understand that. We used to get Narragansett beer, which is I'm showing my age here. But
that's all right. It's still a good lager.
Oh no, it's yeah. You know, I have no problem with PBR every once in a while. Not a bad thing either. You know, bunch of beer is not a bad beer by any means.
No. Narragansett, hey neighbor, have a Gansett. That's the old tagline for him. So definitely a good beer.
Right.
I've enjoyed them. But you've never had it, Phil?
No, I've never had it.
No, you gotta have. It's a.
I'm not like a huge beer person. Like to begin with, I've branched out to IPAs in like the last 2 years, and that's about as far as I go.
Yeah,
and I drink Yingling.
Yeah, but
you expand a little bit, bro. You gotta get those taste buds going. You know,
I'm working on it. When I start drinking dark beer,
usually when I travel, when we go out to dinner, so I always ask what their local beer is and try their beer. And sometimes it's been great, and other times not so much.
Yep.
So,
I enjoyed that overseas, like Greece and Italy and Spain, trying their local stuff, and
really,
even Mexico. I tried their cerveza, and that was good.
Yeah. I wish I had a chance to do that. Not yet, but that'll be cool.
Oh, I'm sure you will soon enough.
Yeah, that'll be a neat. So, before we get into it, Mark, I just want to go over a few things with the people here and that are actually listening to this. We think we almost reached 1,000 downloads total, so we're up to 7.
Very nice.
With 7 interviews, or 7 episodes. This will be number 8, and I hope people are listening to it. But with everything going on in the world today with regards to not only just policing, but in America, I think the niche of this podcast is to talk about a lot about mental health and make sure people know that it's out there, and to give people an outlet, number one, but just to raise awareness about mental health within law enforcement. And I'm not necessarily talking about the mental health and how we deal with people who are having issues and whatnot, but the mental health for officers. I think it's overlooked and not spoken about nearly enough. And I don't know about Mark. We'll get into your experiences, but where we work, I just think it's leaving the agencies out of it. I just think as a state and as a like an area of New England, I just don't think it's talked about nearly as often as it should be. But before we get into the actual interview and find out where you're from, Mark, and about your career, I just want to go over a few things. So in 2016, the Officers Down Memorial page listed that 181 officers had their lives taken from them in the line of duty. And Phil's going to give you guys another stat from BlueHelp.
143.
That was the number of officers that were reported to have taken their lives up to 2016, I believe. So in 2017, 185 officers were reported by ODMP. And Phil?
172.
Wow. In 2018, Phil?
174.
I have 185 officers who were reported to ODMP. And the last year that the Officers Down Memorial page has statistics for is 2019, and 147 officers had their lives taken from them. And Phil?
228.
Yeah. So I think, I just think those numbers need to be reported and spoken about, because it just shows that we hear all the time about when officers lose their lives in the line of duty, but we don't hear much about when, the stressors of the job and the stresses of life with the job have affected an officer so much to have taken their own life. And I just think that it is a good thing to, talk about and to, just make people aware of. So, Mark, I know we had spoken a little bit before this podcast started, before we started recording, but you were an officer for a total of 33 years?
Yeah, 33 years. I retired last April of 2019 after 33 years. A long and winding road, absolutely. but it was a good road. Somebody asked me would I do it over again. In this climate, I probably would have to give it a second thought. But for the most part, yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, the climate that we're in right now is just absolutely horrific for officers physically and emotionally. It is just sad, really is. And any active officer, I'll tell you, I give you guys 110% credit, because it's not. I know for a fact it's not easy.
Well, I give you credit just for making it all the way through to the end of your career. I mean,
Yeah. Well, I started when I was 21. I started in Braintree, Mass.
Mm-hmm.
I did a couple of years there. Then I went over to the Amtrak police. A lot of people don't realize Amtrak has their own police department.
And they're pretty high speed too, aren't they?
Yeah, I'll tell you. That's where I learned my police skills, because as a transit cop, you work by yourself quite a bit, whether it's on the trains or in a station or some of that effect, and you got to learn how to handle yourself. And then when you call for another unit, your unit could be coming from across the other side of the city or God knows from where. So you have to learn how to talk. You have to learn how to defend yourself. And it was I learned quite a bit there. I was on the street crimes unit with them. Unfortunately, I got laid off back in the early 90s. Massachusetts, to find a cop job in Massachusetts was next to almost impossible.
Still is.
Proposition. So I believe it due to civil service and Proposition 2.5 that went on there. Yeah. So I heard about Florida, that they would accept out-of-state academies, and I had to go to the academy for like 3 weeks in Florida, and went to the Seminole County Sheriff's Office, where I did my 25 years, and I retired as a patrol sergeant. And it was a good run. Career-wise, cop-wise, it was a good run. It took a toll on me emotionally. We'll get to that shortly. Yeah. But for the most part, it was really a good run. I was a sergeant out of 19 out of the 25 years with Seminole County. I pride myself on being a cop's cop. Mm-hmm. Taking pride, helping my brothers and sisters as best as they can. I led from the front. I didn't sit behind a desk. I didn't micromanagement or anything like that. So the day I retired, I was out there writing tickets, making arrests, or whatever needed to be done with the guys and girls. And I don't like using the word supervisor. I like using the word leader, because you should lead by example.
Yeah, exactly.
But unfortunately, we have supervisors. Those are the supervisors who don't lead by example, and that's unfortunate.
Yes, you are completely correct. I think if you see people that have been on the job for that many years, I mean, when could you have retired? How many years on of those 33 could you have actually, pulled the plug and retired?
Well, I mean, Florida, the Florida retirement system is 25 years for 75%.
Okay.
So when I went into, it's called drop, and when I went into the retirement system, I said to my wife, "Yeah, you can go up to 5 years." And obviously, the longer you stay, the longer your pension is. Mm-hmm. I lasted 1 month. I just knew it was time to go. I wanted to focus more on mental health wellness for officers.
That's awesome.
My agency tied me back on that quite a bit. And I just knew it was time to go. I'm spiritual. I believe God sent me a message. It's just time to go. And I don't think I would have made the 5 years anyways. Mm-hmm. Just because of all the BS that's going on right now, and the internal BS and everything that goes with it. So I talked to my wife, and it was actually a mic drop retirement. I got up one day after I was on midnights by choice, and I got up one day and I said, something, I don't want to go to work in the next couple of days. I'm going to retire, and I was eligible. I called up my lieutenant and said, "Hey, I'm heading to headquarters, and I'm hanging it up." And his answer back was, "Well, you have to give a notice. Giving it to you right now, brother." So,
that's awesome. Go ahead.
You go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say you hear a lot of talk that people are going to do that, and it's going to be when I retire or when I want to retire, it's usually by the guys who are already retired on duty, Rod.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You hear a lot of that. I'm just going to walk in and retire, but no one actually does it. But to actually hear somebody who essentially did it is even better.
Well, the funny thing about it is when I got to HQ, when I went into human resources, my letter was already typed up for me. So I thought that was nice of them,
That can either go one of two ways. It's either really nice of them, or they were glad to see you go. But I thought it was the second half.
How the old expression goes, the FBI would call that a clue. So, So I'm thinking they have really don't let the door hit the ass on the way out. That'd be my guess, because I was the kind of guy, and I talk about this quite a bit in my presentations. You go to a meeting. Mm-hmm. a cop meeting, and the captain is up there, go team and blah blah blah, and he says something ridiculous, and you look around the room, and 95% of the room is shaking their heads up and down, the bobble dolls.
Yeah.
Well, I was the guy who would raise his hand and say, "Are you effing kidding me? Seriously, what are you thinking here?" And obviously that got me nowhere fast.
Yeah, I know.
so. Like, I don't know if it's a New England thing, or it's just I didn't care, or maybe a little bit of both, or what.
I think it might have been a New England thing, because you hear those strong unions in New England. I don't know how it was down in Florida, but they always have those strong unions that are always there questioning things, especially in Massachusetts. That's kind of what the guys are known for, is to have that strong presence and always question what they're doing, not what they're doing, but they'll do it. It's just always coming at it with a different perspective or point of view.
Right. And I get, they pay your salary. You have to play by the rules, and I did play by the rules. But we're also still in America, and we're not going to be bullied or some politically correct supervisor who probably never spent a day on the road is telling you, you should have done this and you should have done that, and you just look at them like, Are you serious? I mean, come on, will you? I worked with you when you were on the road, and you were nothing then. So,
yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
And people forget where they come from too, which is huge.
Exactly. You've been in a few of those meetings. It just, it makes you shake your head and just try to keep your nose down, and especially if you haven't reached that retirement age or retirement possibility, you're just trying to kind of get through your day and through your year, just to have another one under your belt, but to have somebody there who's willing to fight for you. I mean, were they supportive of you when you were making those questions and judgments?
Well, it was for the most part it was. We had our little clique. Like every agency has a clique, and I would sit with 2 or 3 other sergeants, and we'd nudge each other, and then you got this one? No, I'll take this one. Yeah. Or a couple of times, the people that didn't speak up would turn and look at us and, put their hands up like, when are you going to say something?
Yeah.
And I did say to them one time, I can't fight your battles all the time. You're going to have to grow a set and speak up for yourselves here.
I've definitely heard that from that same exact line. I'm looking at Phil right now. I'm thinking of the officer who was a part-time officer when Phil and I worked for his first agency, who was a retired full-time officer. And he would say those things to us because we were newer and younger at the job. And he's like, when I go, you guys gonna be the ones that actually speak up and say these things because it needs to be said. And it's funny to hear it from you coming as well.
Yep.
Right.
It's definitely an older school mentality.
It's New England thing. So
Exactly. And so were you on mainly patrol your entire career while you were there?
I would say probably I was in traffic for 3 years. The first couple of months I loved it, and then I wasn't really into writing soccer moms tickets for speeding in school zones. You know what I mean? I just that wasn't my thing. I liked more of the the 911 stuff. But majority of my career was in patrol in uniform. Did a very short stint in investigations. Hated it. I always liked being a frontline troop and being right there. Yeah. So it was my choice actually to stay in uniform pretty much my whole career.
Okay.
And no regrets at all. I was a field training officer, traffic, street crimes, things like that. But always like on the street. I very much enjoyed actually being an FTO. I enjoyed that a lot. And I'm also academy instructor, so I really enjoy taking the young guys and girls and hopefully instill some of my experience and some of my wisdom, whether it's right or wrong, for them to learn and to learn from my mistakes also. And God knows I could write the book on that.
I know. So, I feel you there. I'm the same way.
Right,
I think it's good as I've trained a few people. I know Phil has, and I think it's always good to have a trainee with you. Maybe not always good, but it's just a good fresh perspective every now and then, just to have that trainee with you. And to be teaching him or her just the new things on the job and pass that knowledge along. I've always enjoyed it. I mean, I was always that kid when I was in high school to do a bunch of ride-alongs, so I kind of always saw like the other that half of it. And sometimes I view being an FCO nothing more than just having ride-along. So and just trying to teach them the on the job techniques and all that sort of stuff. And it's always been rewarding for the most part.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Yeah, absolutely. Even something as simple as, hey, listen, this is how you talk your way into searching a vehicle. This is how you pat somebody down, or just a consensual encounter, or
Yeah.
or it's something as simple as you go to a I don't want to say simple. Simple is probably the bad word to use, but you go to a natural death call, and the family's grieving, and it's a skill to talk to the family to make them to not feel better, but make them respectful and then put yourself in their situation for a second. And that's one thing I used to instill into. I had no problem locking somebody up. I love chasing the bad guys, but like opiate issues right now, a lot of good people have lost their lives due to opiates,
Yeah.
and they're not scumbags by any means.
No.
And there are a lot of good people out there, and in the world that we live in right now. And I was just actually just saying this today to somebody. There are people out there that respect the police,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately, they're the ones that don't get the attention. It's it's the idiots that are burning down things and things like that. Unfortunately, but there are people out there that respect the police. There's no doubt in my mind.
It's that very active and very vocal 10% of the crowd, the ones that are actually burning and looting and whatnot, that actually have most of the media's attention. And you don't hear about the people who are still supporting the police, still supporting us, dropping off food at the police department, buying us coffee all the time and whatnot. And you never hear about that sort of stuff at all.
Right, and that's sad because that's the good side of law enforcement.
Yep, exactly.
Well, you think about this, guys, for a second. You're about 21, 22 years old. You decide, okay, I want to become a cop, or is your lifelong dream to become a cop, and you watch 15 minutes of the news of the police shootings and the negativity that goes with it, on and on and on. Why would you sign up for this?
I wouldn't at all.
Yeah, but nobody sees the good side of it of something simple, something that's broken down, and you get them gas.
Yep.
Or just something as simple as that. I worked when I was in traffic. I worked a crash one night. This older lady, she rear-ended a car, completely her fault.
Mm-hmm.
No question about it. She totaled her car. Her family was coming 2 hours to come and get her. I drove her to a restaurant. I paid for her dinner. I said, "You be safe at this," because the area she was in was not a good area to be in. And but I put her brought her to a safe area. I bought her dinner for her because she's elderly, and that made me feel so good. And to do something like that, but we don't. And I'm not saying that for a pat in the back by any means, but that's the law enforcement side that people just don't see. Yeah. And that's just humanity. That's all that is.
Exactly. And Phil's gonna probably hate me for telling the story, and I can already see him racking his brain right now. But when he was just out of the Marine Corps and new to the PD that he started with, and I was still working there, and I had him for a night as a trainee. I think he was just out of the academy, maybe had 4 or 5 weeks on with another FTO, and it was about 5:50 in the morning, and our shift ends at 6, and he's already shaking his head right now. But a woman had called 911 because the only thing in her life other than herself was her dog, and the dog died overnight. And without getting into it, she literally just lost the only thing that she had in her life, and about 60 years old, I'd say, if I don't really remember.
Older, but probably 75.
Right,
yeah, maybe. And it was just, she had no idea what to do, and you're helping her out. I don't care. I love dogs. Don't get me wrong. At 5:50 in the morning, my shift's getting off at 6. I really don't want to go friggin' help her out, but I'm going to, obviously. And
sure.
And one of those things, it's like it's rewarding because this person that's the only thing she has in her life, and you're trying to help her out, even if it's trying to call her daughter that lives in a 40 minutes away, or trying to call the vet, or something as simple as wrapping the dog up in a blanket and moving it to a different room. You know what I mean? And so
yeah.
it's
absolutely. Yeah.
It's the stuff like that both he and I enjoyed. Was there are different little things, whether it's coming across the kids at a park and giving them bike helmets, or tossing the football for a minute, stuff like that, and that you don't hear about that makes the news. It happens every single day, multiple times a day throughout the entire country, and the rewarding stuff.
Right. It's really sad. Now think about this for a second. Think about we'll use Portland as an example. Mm-hmm. Portland's out of control right now. There's no question about it. Now think of these guys and girls that are working day in, day out. 12, 16-hour shifts. They come home, and like the old cliche saying, honey, how was your day? They were just spit on, stuffed feces thrown at them. Yeah. They're seeing the worst of the worst. People are degrading them to no end, physically and emotionally. And now you're going to go home and you've got to try and be normal, for lack of a better word. And think of the toll that's taken on those officers emotionally right now, and the lack of support from the city and from the department. It's just how I don't know how they do it. I really don't. It's sad.
Exactly, and especially with what happened in Atlanta. I mean, how much were they trying to pay the guys to come back to work after the Atlanta shooting, and those two officers were fired almost immediately, and or investigated almost immediately, and it's this, like you said, the same thing. It's I don't know what it would take for me to not show up to work and voluntarily just if I was in their position to do it, but like you said,
right. Well, like when Atlanta had the blue flu. When they a bunch of them called in sick or whatever. Mm-hmm. Is it the right thing to do? Well, for the Brotherhood, it is absolutely. It's the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. But think about the good people that live in Atlanta that are not getting police protection because these idiots are burning down a building or whatever they're doing, and the good people of Portland, Atlanta, New York, all where these riots are going on, are not getting police protection because all the resources are diverted to the idiots.
Yep.
And that's not right. And like the story you just told about the dog. Now picture the old lady in Atlanta who calls 911. They say, we're not going to respond to that, or if we get there, it'll be tomorrow. And that's just absolutely horrific.
Yeah, exactly. Who knows when the police are going to show up?
Exactly.
If they do.
In a way, it's disgusting to a point. Yeah,
Exactly.
So it makes me sad. It really does.
Yeah. Now, so when you moved down you retired 2019? You said.
Yeah, April 1st, 2019, April Fool's Day.
Not a joke.
No pun intended.
Are you sure you didn't plan that when you called your lieutenant?
Well, I will tell you this. I got sworn in on June 6, 1985 in Braintree, which was on a Friday. The first Friday of June is National Donut Day. So I got sworn in on National Donut Day, and I left on April Fool's Day. I couldn't make that crap up.
That's awesome.
So there's a method behind the madness.
Yeah, exactly. Once you retired, we'll get into it, but did you go right into helping with BlueHelp, or how'd that start?
No, I would. When I went through my struggles, I've been involved with mental health wellness now, suicide prevention for probably about 5 or 6 years.
Okay.
But I used to devote a lot of time while I was still active, and it obviously took up a lot of my time, which obviously I don't have a problem with whatsoever. Mm-hmm. But now that I'm retired, I devote quite a bit of my time to this, and it's all volunteer, which I have no issue with, and just. If I can touch somebody's life, some officer that's struggling or a friend of theirs is struggling, mm-hmm. their partner or whoever, and oh my God, I get what he's saying. I probably should get some help, or I should offer assistance to this person, or something like that. Then I did my job. That's how I look at it, and not bragging by any means. I've had several active and retired officers say, "Listen, man, you did the right thing here, man. You really you saved my life." And I'm not bragging when I say that by any means. But it's a damn good feeling. It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I've gone through my own struggles, while on the job, and there's the organizations that, you hear of and then they kind of fade away. But it seems like you guys have had it going for, 4 or 5 years now at least?
Yeah. What I like about one of the things I really like about BlueHelp is, we help the officers, but we also help the families mm-hmm. that are left behind. And these spouses, boyfriend, girlfriends, husband, wives, brother, daughters, sons, or whatever, they're left with a lot of unknown answers. They're left with a lot of struggles, and most of the question is, why do they do it? And at BlueHelp, we assist the families, which is great. And I'll give you an example how one of the things that we do is, unfortunately, because of COVID, it got canceled this year. But last year we did a survivor dinner mm-hmm. In Washington D.C. We brought out, I believe, 40 families. We had a huge dinner for them. We paid their way to and from D.C., their hotel, and it was a good way for the survivors to mingle with other survivors,
right.
and to show that they're not alone, which I think is absolutely incredible. We also we're going to be doing survivor camps for kids of their parents that died by suicide.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, we're really excited about this in Rolette, Texas, on September 26th. Which we proclaim as National Law Enforcement Suicide Prevention Day, is we're actually doing a ribbon cutting for a park out there where we're going to have a monument for all first responders and military that died by suicide.
You said that was September 26th?
Yes, in Rolette, Texas.
Okay.
And it's no disrespect to my brothers and sisters or our brothers and sisters that died in the line of duty. There's no respect whatsoever. But we want to honor our officers, because we know just as well as anybody knows that stress kills people.
Yep.
And we want to honor our officers, say that we're respecting the way you lived, and we're respecting the legacy that you left behind.
Yeah,
and that's huge.
Oh, that's
really huge.
That is awesome. I think a lot of people. I just wouldn't want the people to actually not say forget about them, but you're honoring that person that gave their life not only it is essentially in the line of duty, even though they may not have actually been working that day. Their stressors actually come from things that they've dealt with on the job. So it is essentially in line of duty death.
If you look at the wall in D.C., there's several names on there, and they're all considered line of duty deaths. I would put my retirement check on it that there are suicides on that wall that were not addressed as suicides. In other words, he or she was cleaning their gun and it accidentally went off. They were driving home, they hit a tree, or something to that. Or I'll give you another example. They recognize heart attacks as a line of duty death. Well, what's one of the causes of heart attacks? Stress. So I guarantee there are officers on that wall that died by suicide.
Oh, without a doubt.
No doubt whatsoever.
The statistics alone would say that there have to be. I mean, because like you said, it's in the 1980s when you started, and I assume we can get into it, but when you started, there was probably a huge, overwhelming stigma with regards to not only mental health, but mental health within the profession. And I can only imagine how many times that you were probably told, not necessarily told, but you heard, suck it up, you pussy, whatever it is. It's, you don't talk about it. You swallow your feelings, you lock them away, and you never talk about it again, because you're a wimp if you do. You're going to be considered unfit for duty if you talk about it or if you have these thoughts. And so for the guys or men and women who took their lives back in the 80s, 90s, well, we can even go further back than that. But, there was probably even that thought of, well, this person obviously clearly did commit suicide. And if we label it as suicide on a death certificate, then they're going to not be eligible for the numerous benefits that they could receive if they were if they just died by accident or died by a heart attack. So, how many times did that happen even prior to 2000? And people were just labeling it like an accident, like you said. So the kids, the wife, the husband could get those benefits, and now their name is on the wall, like you were talking about.
Right. And when I started in '85, it was how we handled our stress was, well, let's go grab a beer, and but you never showed any type of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that was a rough call we were on last night, and man, it kept me up. It kept me up last night, or I'm having nightmares from it, or something like that. You didn't dare say something like that because of the stigma, and like you said, unfit for duty. Or and I'll give you an example. When I worked for Amtrak, one of my sergeants, we were talking, and he told me he just started taking Prozac for stress. Mm-hmm. And I said to myself, oh my God, this guy's on a mental health a pill, and is he okay or what? And that's the way we just thought. We're like, I don't know about that. Well, kudos to him for getting help.
Yeah,
but back
exactly.
then, it was just like, no, absolutely no way would we even. There's no way I would turn to look at you guys and say, I haven't slept in 2 days due to that bad crash we went to the other night where the person was decapitated, or the officer-involved shooting, or something like that. We just didn't talk about it. It was just the elephant in the room, and we just moved on. And there's a movie from the 1970s, The New Centurions. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite movies. The reason why I bring it up is George C. Scott is an LAPD officer, and he retires. And he can't accept his retirement too well emotionally, so he starts hanging out at the police station. They're kind of blowing him off a little bit, and plus they're busy, this, that, and the other. Well, he dies by suicide in that movie, and that was made in the 70s. Mm-hmm. So right there, we're looking at police suicide back from the 1970s.
Yeah.
But here we are in 2020, and honestly, we're not doing a heck of a lot. We're doing a lot, absolutely we are. There's no doubt, but we can always do more. Yeah. That's how I look at it. PTSD's been around since the Civil War. So it's just we got to do better for our officers. We really do.
Yeah, we do. And I think a lot of it has, I've been a police officer 10 years now, and even since I started, I think the stigma has definitely changed from 2010 to 2020. So I think, like you said, it's definitely has come a long way, but it's nowhere to where it needs to be whatsoever. Nowhere near it. No. And
not even close.
I think a lot
of...
Go ahead.
Well, think about this. NYPD had, I believe, in 2019, if I'm correct, had 11 or 12 suicides. This is the biggest police department in the world, and they have a huge, the PAPA unit, which is their stress unit, is huge. They do a phenomenal job, but here's 12 officers that died by suicide, and what's really being done? I'm sure they're doing something. And I actually spoke to an NYPD officer, and I asked him what was the reaction from the agency. His answer back was, well, they sent out a 30-minute wellness video that was mandatory watching. Well, come on, we're cops here. What do we do when we watch a training video? We hit fast forward, or we sit there and bullshit.
Exactly. I was just thinking about that.
Skipping as long as there's no questions in the middle.
So,
I think I'm a master of how to go onto Quizlet and answer the questions that are being asked at the end of that, and get through this. So it's no fault of ours. It is what it is. But NYPD did address the situation, sure, absolutely. But a 30-minute video is not going to do a heck of a lot. They should, I don't know if they do this or not do it, but there should be officers out there reaching out to going to roll call, going to union meetings, mm-hmm. talking about these taboo subjects that really nobody wants to talk about, because, again, it's alive and well. Yeah. Since BlueHelp has been tracking suicides, they've tracked 1,251 suicides. That's a lot, and 123 were retirees. Okay, and how many of those 1,253? How many of them are from the 70s, 80s, and 90s, essentially?
We've been tracking since, I believe, since 2015 or 2016.
Okay.
That's that. I'm sorry. No. I just had a memory thing. Actually, they've been dating back since 1956.
Okay.
And what I was thinking is yearly what we were tracking. So these suicides the 1,251 go back to 1956.
Okay, so those are family members coming forward and saying, whoever it was, Joe Smith took his life in 1974, and it wasn't reported as
exactly.
Whether or not it was reported as a suicide or not, it was a suicide, and we want this tracked.
Yeah, exactly. No,
okay.
We also get our information from the agencies that report them also, but a lot of agencies don't report it.
No,
they just don't. Because the question is always asked is why. Is agencies look at it two different ways. They look at one as it's not an honorable death, because suicide is a violent death. Yeah, it's total bullshit. Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you anymore. And they look at it as an officer that's struggling, and I've heard this from agency heads, is when an officer is struggling mentally, we look at him as a liability. And
really,
so yeah, and I've heard that from several department heads, where I just wanted to bitch slap them.
Send him in next week with that bullshit.
Exactly. But think about this for a second. You get in a vehicle pursuit, okay,
mm-hmm.
and you're chasing a bad guy and you crash. You go to the emergency room, you break your leg. While you're in the emergency room, the doctor puts you in a cast. everybody and their brother on the job is coming by wishing you good luck, and which they should, absolutely. They're signing the cast, hey, get well soon, bro. They're busting your balls, they're doing the whole 9 yards.
Busting your balls big time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Which I actually love doing.
Yeah. It preps you for the street, if anything.
Exactly. So think about this now. And what's the chief and the sheriff or the captain saying? Hey, you come back to work when you're ready to come back.
Yep.
No rush. We're going to take care of you. Now, the next day, an officer checks themselves into an in-house mental health facility for a suicide attempt, for PTSD, for depression, anxiety, or whatever. Is anybody going to that facility and signing his or her forehead saying "Get well soon"?
No, they should.
Probably not. No, plus the rumors are going around. Hey, so and so just went off the deep edge, or they had a breakdown, they had a meltdown, or whatever you want to call it. When they get better, they come back to work. Now they're carrying that stigma. Who wants to work with you? He was just in a facility for 2 weeks, and I'm going to go work with him now? Are you kidding me? That's how people think.
Yeah,
it's sad. It literally, when I say literally breaks my heart, it really does. And I experienced that firsthand.
Yeah.
The rumors, and it sucks. It truly sucks.
Yeah, it does. It does. And, the first the police department I worked for, and I had a friend of mine who was under those same circumstances, and the rumors that were going around, I left that PD to come work for another one in the midst of it. So I didn't hear the end rumors, as you would say, or something like that. But I was there when they first started, and it was just demoralizing. I mean, to me, because I was a friend, I still am a friend of his, and it's the person has something going on that they are working through, and they need help, and that's all it is. What's the difference between if you bust your ACL or break your wrist and you're working through those issues while on the job? It's the same sort of thing,
Sure, I agree. I agree. And also, you have to look at too is the officers that are on admin leave, on suspension.
Yeah.
These officers are sitting at their house on their couch because they can't work because they're on suspension. Dwelling. Exactly. Do I have a job tomorrow? How am I going to pay my mortgage? Who will hire me if I get fired? Some of it's self-inflicted, some's not. We have to think about that also. And that's one thing I always did was. As much as they say internal investigations are confidential, that's crap because everybody knows what's going on. Okay,
exactly.
Hey, so-and-so's on suspension. I would always reach out to those, even if I didn't like them. To be honest with you, I still would reach out. Hey, you need anything?
You care about a human being.
Well, exactly, yeah. So it's just we got to do better taking care of our officers emotionally. It's just. Literally heartbreaking.
Yeah, I completely agree. Now, what was the reason why, or what started your interest within mental health within law enforcement, if you want to get into that?
Okay, basically it was this. I was being bullied, and when I say the story, I'm not looking for pity by any means. But I worked for the lieutenant, brand new lieutenant. That was a big company, man. He sold his soul. Whatever the agency wants, he would do. He was a half-ass cop, half-ass sergeant, but he was a micromanager. And what he would do is he would hide behind his lieutenant bar, and he would belittle his sergeants. And like I said earlier, I was the guy in the meetings that wasn't going to put up with that shit. You're not going to talk down to me. You're not going to disrespect me. I'll respect your rank, but you're not gonna talk to me like I'm a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Well, obviously that caused issues, and so we started not getting along. And he would say things like, I'm gonna make you the sergeant that I was. Oh, dude, I don't want to be the sergeant you were. Trust me. not by any means. I don't wear knee pads to work. I don't. I haven't sold my soul or anything like that.
This sounds a lot like locker room talk when the sergeants or the lieutenants aren't around. It's just your buddy, the patrolman, and you.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So he started belittling me. Started talking down to me. I became very rebellious. Talking back. He wrote me up a couple of times for conduct issues because what things I said to him, which he deserved. But I took it on the chin. And I liked the area I worked in. It was a very busy area, so I liked being in that area. but he hung out with the command staff, and he would say to me, "Well, go ahead and report me. Do you golf with the sheriff? Because I do." And again, we go back to the old school mentality. We don't rat out other cops. Mm-hmm. We just don't do that. They absolutely not. Well, during the course of this, prior to that, him coming on, after 9/11, when the towers were hit, I went up there for 2 weeks, about 3 or 4 days afterwards. And one of the things I remember distinctly was, while I was at the towers, or what was left of the towers, 3 or 4 days later, was the smell of death. Mm-hmm. It just had that burnt flesh, nasty smell. And just seeing all the first responders, cop, fire, EMS, crime scene, everybody had that same look in their face. Everybody was distraught. There wasn't a typical cop ball busting or anything like that. And there was very little I don't want to use the word support, but there wasn't like hugging or anything like that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. No, were you up there on your own time, or did they pay you to go up there with a few other guys?
Fortunately, I was paid to go up there. The sheriff sent up 10 of us. That's awesome. And I actually initiated it, and I would have gone up on my own time. I would have taken my 3 weeks vacation or whatever, and I would have went up there on my own time. No doubt. We helped out with the bucket brigade. We actually saw dismembered bodies. We got kind of cool thing. We got sworn in as NYPD officers. I still have my certificate that I'm in. So I don't know where my retirement's from them, but I still get a certificate from them. So, anyways, long story short, it was phenomenal. It really was to help out with one of the worst things that ever happened on American soil. That we were able to assist. One of the things that was really big, and I didn't realize it. So somebody said this to me, was by us working at Ground Zero, was able to give an NYPD officer a day off. We took their spot. So that I thought that was really good.
Yeah,
really,
it really
it really was. So long story short, while I was working for this lieutenant, I am going to a vehicle crash on a major highway. And when I pulled up, the vehicle was fully engulfed, and I could hear the guy screaming in the car. And me and another deputy, we grabbed our fire extinguishers. We couldn't get the fire out. We watched him burn to death pretty much. So that right away kind of triggered my 9/11, the smell of death, the fire, the burning cessation, things like that. Yeah. So, I started developing a little bit of nightmares from it. Not much, but a little bit of just, okay, this is kind of, why am I so tense now every time I see fire? Or every time I go to a crash, why am I seeing this? Or why am I feeling this way? But I just kind of blew it off, more or less. Well, during the course of this lieutenant, when I say bullying is probably put it mildly, just making my life absolutely miserable for me. So he started calling me things like, you're worthless. And one of the things he called me which was a trigger alert, and at the time I didn't realize this, was he would call me precious. Oh, you're so precious. And now I'm gonna give you an example of why this triggered me. When I was a kid, and I'm very open about this, I was molested by a police officer for years. I grew up without a father. He was my male figure in my life, and he used to call me his precious boy. So now I'm being bullied by my boss, and what's the first thing I think of? I think of the Richie, who was the guy that was molesting me, or did molest me, I should say, and I never reported it. I pretty much never said a word to anybody about it, from the shame and embarrassment and things like that. So when he would call me precious, my blood pressure would go like 300 over 300, and I would act out, and that's a sign of PTSD, is acting out. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't fault yourself for not reporting that. I mean, you were young when that happened, and the fact that it probably took you many years to even tell anybody that it had happened itself.
Well, thank you for saying that, and you're right. I truly mean that when I say thank you. Say that was because it just was something I just had to eventually, when it was able to come out, it would come out.
Yeah, one of those things that open the floodgates, and it's right there, and you're talking about it, and people are just probably sitting. The people that were with you, your mom at least, was probably, I don't know how old you were when you talked to her about it, but probably just like deer caught in the headlights sort of look. And
I didn't tell them until I was in my 40s. So I'm 56 now. So that was bringing a burden, and then it was getting to the point where I didn't want to go to work because I wanted to avoid that lieutenant. And it was something as simple as this: every sergeant at the end of the shift had to do a daily report. You know, this happened, that happened, so and so got arrested for this, whatever. I used to work 5:30 P to 5:30 A. About 9 o'clock, my department's cell phone would ring. It would be him because he worked days. And he'd say, "Hey, I'm reading the daily report, and there's not a comma after this. Change it."
Are you
I'm like,
kidding me?
I couldn't make this shit up. I'm
kidding
serious.
me? Oh my god!
So I would have to go put my, go get my laptop, turn it on, put the comma in there. Then I'd grab my timesheet and I put 2 hours overtime because that's the kind of cops we are.
Yeah.
We don't use it for free. But it was just things like that. And then I started getting really on edge where I didn't want to go to work. And my wife would say to me, she's like, "Listen, you're starting to stress out about work. You know, maybe you need to talk to somebody." My answer back to my wife was, "You're not a cop. You don't get this." My wife's an RN. She's been a registered nurse for years. She worked in the emergency room for years. She knows about stress.
Yeah.
There's no question about it whatsoever. She sees people die every single day.
Well, I'm thinking she's probably thinking, ding, ding, ding. There's clue number one that he needs to go and talk to somebody. If you're saying
exactly.
that. Especially probably in the tone that you said it, I can only imagine. I don't know you, but I mean, just I can picture the tone in which it was probably said.
Yeah, and I didn't want to hear that from her, obviously.
Yeah.
Because first one is my male ego. I don't want to look weak in front of in front of my wife or anything like that. Well, when I stress, I would eat, and in 4 months, without exaggeration, I gained 47 pounds in 4 months.
Holy shit!
Yeah. Eating 5 Big Macs a night, going to Dairy Queen, washing it down with a Diet Coke, thinking that's okay. Yeah,
there's no calories in it, so you're all set.
Well, yeah, now it's Coke Zero, but yeah. Plus drinking started to get involved in that also. Yeah. And I'm not a prohibitionist. I love my beer, as we talk about. So now with the weight gain, I'm not liking my appearance to go with it.
Yeah.
And I was the guy that I'm not getting bigger pants. Absolutely not. Or anything like that. So when I look in the mirror and I put my uniform on, I didn't look the same. And then a couple of people on my squad would say, "Hey, Sarge, you're not joking around like you used to, and everything okay? Leave me alone. I'm going through something right now. It's a personal matter. Go back to work." And I was kind of cold to them, and that's the exact opposite of me. Is the total opposite of me. So then during the course of this, I got my evaluation, and one of the courses I teach at the police academy is I teach line supervision. And what I tell the new supervisors or the new sergeants is this: that when you give somebody their evaluation, they should never be surprised in that evaluation. You got to have that difficult conversation through the rating period if they're doing something wrong or whatever. Yeah. Well, my evaluation was in an envelope and in my mailbox. And when I pulled it out, there was a Post-it note that said, "If you have a problem with the evaluation, make an appointment with my secretary to talk to me about it." Well, that's a coward. Yeah, we know that's total coward. Well, what's everybody do with the evaluation? You flip to the back page, see what the score is, and what the comments are. Well, it was below standards, which I've never been a below standards cop, and a recommended termination. And that really hit home to me because I've been a cop since I was 21 years old. It's the only thing I want to do in my life.
It went from 0 to 100 just like that, with nothing in the meantime. I mean, for everybody listening, you have to have, like he was talking about, just you have to have those that talk with the person. Like it can't it can't become. Right. It can't be a surprise. You have to have that hard conversation, and you have to try to teach people, and you're trying to lift people up, and if you, especially even if you had to have that hard conversation, it may enlighten you to something that's going on within their life. Obviously, like it would have for you had they had that conversation, or had you had a lieutenant that cared. Would have
absolutely.
You would have learned so much more about that person or about you, and you would have talk to somebody about it, I assume, if they even had that conversation with you. But from go to 0 to 100 or recommended termination, you must have been livid.
I was floored. I called my wife. I went out to my cruiser. I called my wife, started crying, saying my career's done. I'm going to be fired. And she's like, well, there's going to be appeal process. I'm like, well, yeah, there is. Absolutely, there is. Yeah, there is. But all you think is the worst. Yeah, you don't think about the future. You think about what's going on right now. So that was absolutely devastating. And then again, my appearance, my work productivity was absolutely horrible. I went from making 10 traffic stops a night to 0, not making any arrests, just parking somewhere and just doing nothing. So one night I was during my appeal process, I was still active, obviously. I was sitting at a fire station. And the fire department went out on a call. It's about 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. This car pulls in. This woman gets out, and she hands me her 3-month-old baby and says, "My baby's not breathing." And I'm like, oh, "Holy shit! Oh my God!" I check its pulse. There's no pulse. So I start doing CPR. I get on the radio. I call for the fire department. It seemed like it took forever to get there. When in all reality, it didn't. But as you know, when you're doing CPR, it's just mind-boggling how long it takes for the EMS to get there. So EMS gets there. I get in the back of the ambulance with the medics, and I go to the hospital. And while I'm at the hospital, the ER doctor pronounces the baby dead.
Jesus.
Now the family comes in, and the father looked at me and he called me useless, kind of like with the lieutenant, useless and worthless. I get that. I truly get that. He's under a lot of stress. He just lost his 3-month-old kid. I truly understand his frustration and anger. And I said, "Sir, I did the best I could do." "Did you really?" And he goes, "Get out of here."
Oh.
And I just said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm so sorry." So I went home that morning, drank myself to sleep that morning, ate myself to sleep also too.
Yeah.
I just so then I started developing nightmares of the baby, and I didn't tell anybody about it. The nightmares were so explicit. I'd be driving down the street and I'd look over my passenger seat. There's the baby sitting there just staring at me.
Jesus Christ! Did you have any kids at the time?
No, we don't have any kids by choice.
Okay.
So no, I would go to my mailbox and I would open up the mailbox and there's the baby. Or I could hear like the gurgling noise when you make CPR.
Yeah.
When you do CPR, I could hear that when I was closing my eyes.
Yeah.
So I went to work and I said, well, I don't know if it's a mistake or not, but I said to my lieutenant, I said, "Man, I had a really bad call a couple of weeks ago. I'm having these nightmares. I'm getting sick. You toughen up, Buttercup. You'll be okay, precious." That type of thing. Yeah, and I'm like, "Oh, you got to be kidding me!" So I go to work the next night. As I'm driving to work, he calls me, and he's totally obnoxious to me on the phone. Well, I ended up having a panic attack. Never had a panic attack in my life. I didn't even know what it was, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I pull my cruiser over. I'm puking my guts out. I felt like somebody just took a baseball bat to my chest. While I'm puking, a car pulls in behind me. This woman gets out. She's in scrubs. She's like, "I'm a nurse. Can I help you?" I'm like, "Get away from me. Get away. No. Get away from me." So she ends up calling 911. The FD gets there. They take my blood pressure. It's sky high. "Hey, we got to take you to the hospital." "No, absolutely not. I'm not going to the hospital." "Nope." So I signed AMA against medical advice. Well, that night, I'm at work. I'm absolutely miserable, literally miserable. Thinking, and I started to the point where I started separate myself from my wife also, sleeping on the couch, not doing things with her that we enjoy doing. We love going to the beach. We like going to see the Red Sox when they play in Tampa, things like that. I just refused to do any of that.
Mm-hmm.
I would just zone out and stare at the TV, and just eat. That's it,
Was she recognizing what was going on with you at the time?
Oh, she did, but I just completely blew her off. Again, you don't get this. I'm weak. He's right. I am weak. And she's very upset about this. Totally upset about this.
What year about is this? Like what actually?
2008 actually.
2008. Okay.
So the night I have the panic attack, I pull. It's about maybe 3-4 hours into my shift, and I parked in an industrial park, and I started hearing voices, which I again never experienced that either. And the voices I was hearing was, "You're worthless. He's right. Your marriage is going to end. You're going to go to hell." All this stuff. So I started getting suicide thoughts. And I said to myself, "Oh my God, why am I getting suicide thoughts?" But I thought suicide was the answer. And I said, "You know something? he is right. I am worthless, and I'll show him, and I'll show the agency. So I wrote a suicide note, and on my first page of the suicide note, I wrote it to that lieutenant, and I wrote it to the agency, how much hate I have towards them. A very angry letter. You don't get this. I'm being bullied. You don't care, etc., etc. I flipped the page over. On the flip side of that was a note to my mom, who was still alive then, and my wife. Please, I'm sorry. Please understand. This is the only answer I have is doing this. You know, your lives will go on. Don't think of me as weak. Think of me as I just couldn't take it anymore. Well, I took the note, and this is really strange when I say this. I put the note in one of those paper protector holders, plastic. You slide the piece of paper into.
Yeah.
Took a piece of evidence tape and I hung it off my rearview mirror, and I just stared at it for about a good 5 minutes. Well, then I took my gun out, and I'm like, this is it. It's over. So I put my head back, put my gun in my mouth, and to this day, and I'm not being triggered when I say this, but to this day, I can still taste the oil from the gun in my mouth, the metal taste.
Yeah.
I could feel the baby on my left arm, and I was getting ready, and I was actually getting ready to squeeze the trigger when I saw a car pull in, and I kind of went into cop mode for a second. Well, it'd be another cruiser, it'd be a deputy, and he said to me, "What's going on?" And I said, "What do you mean what's going on?" He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, my exact words were, "I'm going to fucking kill myself. That's what I'm going to do. You need to get the hell out of here now." And he's like, "No, that ain't going to happen. I'm not going to let you do that. You need to get help." So he talked me down.
That's
we
awesome.
For about 2 hours.
Who was this guy to you? Was he a personal friend of yours?
His name is Craig. His name is Craig McGee. He has since passed away also.
Okay.
The only way to describe Craig was he was a cop's cop.
Mm-hmm.
Very just really truly believed in the brotherhood, and he weighed about 350 pounds. So we used to call him the Whopper.
That's awesome.
Well, he definitely saved my life. There's no question about that.
Was he a personal friend of yours though, and just some guy that was?
Yeah, he was, which I take a lot of credit for. When I worked with him as a deputy,
okay,
and when I made sergeant, whatever squad I went to, he would transfer to that squad. It's not because he was sucking up to me. We just had such a good relationship.
Yeah.
And I very much enjoyed working with him. I truly did.
Thank God.
So I called the watch commander and said, "Hey, listen, I'm not feeling good. I need to go home." He's like, "Yeah, no problem. Go home." I never told him. Well, when I got home, I changed out and I went and sat by my pool and started getting suicide thoughts again.
Same day, obviously.
Same night. Had the gun on the table the whole 9 yards. Put the gun back in my mouth. Then I started thinking about my wife. That. When she comes down, we have a 2-story home. When she comes downstairs and she sees me laying at the pool deck, what trauma am I giving her? Huge trauma, obviously. Yeah. So I called a buddy of mine from back home. He suggested the Boston Police Stress Unit, and I went to them 2 days later.
So wait a minute, did they come down to you, or how'd that work out?
I flew up to them, and the reason why they offered me assistance here in Florida, but I didn't want anybody to know. So I figured my safety zone would be go to Boston.
Okay.
Nobody knows on the job. I made some bullshit story up that I had to take care of some family issues and I'm going back home.
Yeah.
So they helped me a lot. I was able to receive therapy. I stayed up there for probably about a week. They were phenomenal. They really were.
How did that work out with you? Sorry to interrupt you. I don't mean to interrupt you, but a couple of different things. I mean, how did that work out with you being another agency?
It wasn't an issue at all.
They didn't give a shit at all.
No, the exact words out of the officer was that I spoke to, and I can't remember the name of the top of his head, was, "You're a brother."
Awesome. That's what I love to hear.
As it should be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She gives me chills when I think about it.
Yeah. Now, how'd that work out with your wife? Was she there when you were doing that at the pool? Was she around? Was she aware what was going on? I mean,
she was sleeping. She was upstairs sleeping. Yeah, she still works days. She worked day shifts.
Were you upfront?
It was about midnight when I was at home.
Okay, so were you upfront and honest with her? I mean, I'm sorry if this gets a little personal, but I mean,
no. I lied about everything. I lied about going back home. I lied to my to one of the patrol captains why I was going back home.
Mm-hmm.
I lied to the therapists in Boston. that I'm okay. It's just I see what I do need to get help, and when I go back to Florida, I'll get help.
Okay.
I was surrounded by lies, and that carried a lot of guilt, obviously, with the lies.
Yeah, I understand.
But I didn't want to look weak. I didn't want to look like I wasn't happy with my appearance, my mental state. Obviously, wasn't happy about. So when I came back to Florida, I bounced from like one therapist to another. And it really didn't work out really that well, because and the reason why I say that is, number one, cops are good liars. I went back to work. The fortunate thing, when I went back to work, I didn't get terminated. My evaluation was changed, and I was transferred to a different area, and that was obviously a blessing. And I got away from that lieutenant. The lieutenant I went to work for was actually phenomenal.
How long had it been that you were working for that specific guy?
I worked for him for about a year.
Okay.
Yeah, but the trauma was about 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Of that. Now, here's kind of a funny, kind of weird situation. Is we talked about it happened in 2008. The day I decided I wanted to die by suicide was October 24th, 10/24. The officer down call in my agency was 10/24.
Oh no shit.
So I don't know if that's a little strange or just a little creepy, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I'm now the speed up is I'm in a different area, still miserable, not as bad as I was, but still miserable.
Miserable,
still hated the job.
like with everything that you were like the personal stuff you were talking about, not miserable like with the agency or anything like that anymore.
Yeah, miserable about the stress, miserable at my agency. But so what happened was I was at a training class for sergeants, and they did a block on mental health wellness, and the guy that was speaking was a political hack. He never spent a day on the road. He went to the academy. They gave him a cushy job. He moved up, et cetera, et cetera. And he's reading out of a book.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about, nightmares and this, that, and the other thing. I'm like, dude, you have no clue, man. You have no clue whatsoever. So what I did was I asked him if I could speak, and he said, yeah. But when I spoke very angry. F this, F that. The agency sucks. You suck. Blah blah blah, on and on and on. Well, that led to a conduct issue where I was actually written up for conduct issues. Okay. And they said your next conduct issue, we're going to look at more discipline besides a write up. So obviously that put me in panic mode. Mm-hmm. So then I Googled police officer mental health, and I started like researching it. And I have a friend of mine that's a reporter, and just on a fluke, total fluke, I ran into him in a supermarket, and I started telling him about what was going on. He goes, "Hey, I'd like to do a story on that."
On police officer mental health.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. He said, well, you willing to tell your story? I'm like, oh yeah, absolutely. Well, I go on TV, I tell my story, and it was perceived as negative. That was negative to the agency and negative towards.
That was going to be my question.
I didn't accept responsibility or something, something like that.
Did you inform them prior that you were going on this or no?
I did because per our policy was that if we speak to the media, we have to. And then they originally told me no, and I said, well, I'm speaking as myself. I'm not speaking as a member of the agency. But of course, in the interview, I said what I did and who I work for. Well, they came out with the analogy that you can't represent the agency, this, that, the other thing. So that obviously upset me. Then I ended up finding my present therapist. I'm still in therapy 12 years later. Yeah. Now I'm on a maintenance plan, but my present therapist is a retired cop. So she gets the stress of the job, and the anguish that we go through. It's so, kind of make a long story short, it got a lot better. They kind of left me alone a little bit, but they never supported my endeavors. I put it for the peer support unit twice. I didn't get it. I thought I'd be a shoo-in on it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But the guy I told off ran the peer support unit.
No,
so,
okay.
Be careful what you wish for. That type of thing. So.
Well, it's funny that you say.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, you said you've been with that specific counselor for 12 years now.
It's been about 5 years with her.
Okay. I think that's that's important to talk about because guys. When I see guys, I mean both men and women and whatnot. I mean, so people will. they'll go to one person and be like, nope, didn't work for me. I checked the box. I'm all done. Even though they may need help and still may need help and whatnot. But like it took me 3 times to find the person that was good for me.
Right, and how I would follow that up with was keep on plugging.
Yeah.
You're eventually going to find somebody that you feel comfortable talking with.
Yeah.
And my advice, and I'm not a mental health professional, but my advice would be find a mental health professional that deals with first responders.
Okay.
Not somebody that just got their college degree and they're going to save the world, for mental health illness. Somebody that's directly involved with either was a cop, specialized in first responder, or something to that effect.
Okay.
That's the advice. That's the advice I will give. And there's plenty out there. There is actually. And to kind of plug BlueHelp for a second, on our website, we have a resource page. It's called First Help. And if you type in basic information, that will turn you on to a mental health professional in your area all over the country.
Yeah, no, I was going to talk about the website at the end of the podcast, but
Okay.
I mean, people who are just probably interested in now, it's BlueHelp.org, BlueHelp.org, and it has a bunch of different information on there. It's actually a pretty well run with website with not only law enforcement. Crisis line. It has the suicide prevention crisis line, veterans, and cop to cop on there as well. And that's just right on the main page. And you go there and like it talks about the honor wall, it talks about all the resources that are out there, family support and whatnot, and how it's run. And we can get into that after at the end. But yeah, definitely a good webpage to check out. For me, it was it just came down to a Google search for police officer mental health wellness, essentially mental health counselor. That's how I found the people and whatnot. But it's definitely good to have all those resources in one area to go to. So
right, yeah. And one of the things we say in BlueHelp is watch your 12. We hear watch your back, watch your 6. We're all about that, absolutely. Watch your 12 basically is when you're looking at somebody face to face.
Mm-hmm.
And if me and you were parked car to car, and you're talking to me, and I can just see in your facial expression that there's something bothering you.
Yep.
Again, we'll go back to the difficult conversation. It's time to have that difficult conversation.
Yeah. We've
got to watch our 12s. People present like in my example, the weight gain. Why do you gain so much weight so fast? That's a difficult conversation to have. Typical cops, we're going to bust each other's balls about the weight gain.
Mm-hmm.
But in all reality, there's probably a reason why there's a weight gain, whether it's physically or mentally or both. So kind of finish with my story is I feel 100% better than I ever have since I retired. And I think leaving the job, I'm not disrespecting, I'm not bad-mouthing the job. It's the greatest job in the world. It truly, truly is. But I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And the area I was in prior to my retirement was a busy area. We dealt with a lot of overdoses, a lot of violent crimes. And it was starting to really get on my nerves a little bit also. Going to the same hotel every night for 3 or 4 overdoses. Another shooting, and I'm just like, when is enough? And I just realized, I've got to move on. If I'm going around in my presentation speaking about, you got to do what makes you happy, you got to do what's best for you, then I need to start taking a taste of my own medicine. Mm-hmm. and I feel great. I truly, truly feel great. I'm diagnosed with PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Mm-hmm. It's controlled through therapy and medication and wellness. Marriage is back on track. I'm not saying this for my wife's in the other room, but I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I truly am. Hopefully I'll have sex tonight for when she hears that. But it's just, she's a big part of my life. I enjoy working out. One of the big things in my life also is music. I'm very big into music therapy.
Yes.
I've learned how to play the guitar, and certain songs put me in a good place.
Yep.
We have a couple of dogs, playing with the dogs. So do things in your life that make you happy. Somewhat simple as even going for a walk, or just things that make you happy.
Well, I think people
don't be afraid.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you didn't cut me off. I was cutting you off. But all I was going to say is, obviously, the weight gain and everything that was one of the tells. But if you were something as you were just talking about, going for a walk or doing something physical, it increases obviously the blood flow to your brain, and you're gonna feel better after doing that. As the more the more blood flow and oxygen flow that gets to your brain, you're gonna feel better, and you're gonna feel like a new place. I mean, for me, I remember listening to one of the first time I ever listened to Tim Ferriss was on the Jocko Willing podcast, and Tim was talking about how he had been suicidal when he was in college and going for his doctorate or whatever it was at the time. I can't remember exactly, but now he talks about how he deals with or had dealt with being suicidal, and for him it was getting out of your head and getting into your body and being physical. Going out there, it could be something as simple as going for a walk or going for a hike or going and doing some of the going to work out or some of the extreme workouts and doing some that sort of stuff. And that's what I kind of when I try to talk to people about it, it's like, if someone's feeling like crap that day mentally, I tell them, get out of your head, stop, and I'll say it in better words, but essentially it's get out of your head, stop dwelling on what you're thinking about, and literally go do something physical. I don't care what it is. Go for a walk, go for a hike, go out for a quick run and get that oxygen going, get that blood pumping, get that straight to your brain, and you'll feel 10 times better. I mean, for me, that's what it is. So that's why I try to tell people. So
it's finding your outlet, no matter what it is.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah. Like sometimes I go for a run, sometimes I just walk. I enjoy going to the gym. But even something like you said, just simple as going for a walk. Take a walk around your neighborhood a couple of times. Put your headphones on, listen to music while you walk in. But don't be afraid to have that difficult conversation with yourself. Also, if something's bothering you. Yeah. But yeah, and I truly get the workout thing. I truly get that because, like, when I drive home from the gym, I'm a little sore. 56 years old, I can't do what I did 20 years ago. But I feel good. Yeah, and feeling good physically means you're going to feel good mentally.
Exactly.
And I'll give you an example. Is when I retired, my blood pressure has gone down, my cholesterol has gone down. It's just amazing when you start taking care of yourself a little bit better. What it does for you physically and mentally. I just find it absolutely amazing that how that does, and spiritually also.
Mm-hmm.
God has really taken me down a path these last couple of years of being spiritual. I was always spiritual, but now I go to God for a lot more guidance. Mm-hmm. And during my tough times, when I went to God and said, "Why am I feeling this way?" I felt He didn't answer me, or He didn't care. So that pissed me off, obviously. So I don't want to say anti-God, but I just stopped saying my prayers and stopped doing that. Now I wear a crucifix all the time. I pray 2-3 times a day. I just, it's good. It really is.
Looking back, though, he sent that other deputy right over to see you.
Yeah.
What was I get? I'm sorry. I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
I said, looking back, he sent that other deputy right over to see you. And you're still here.
Oh, no doubt. Oh, yeah. There's a reason why people come in your life. And yeah, there's no. And one of the things that actually, one of the guilt and shame issues I had, if you want to talk about a little bit about spirituality, it was being raised as a Catholic. I don't consider myself. I now look at myself as a Christian, but being raised as a Catholic, suicide is a big no-no. It's damaging the soul, and you're going to go to hell. You're not going to go to heaven. Yep. And that was an issue I was struggling with. Also, was that. Listen, I'm a cop. I do good. Why can't I go to heaven? But yeah, God definitely sent them over there. There's no question about that. And there's no question why my wife's saying you got to get help. As much as I didn't want to hear it, she was 100% right.
Yeah, it's all things in there, but it's a vicious cycle that you're in your own head, and it's hard to get out of, and it's hard to see from the inside. And it's until you finally do get on the outside and get on the right path that you can start looking back and noticing all the signs and the help that you actually did have, that you just, you're in your own way. You weren't ready to get it yet. You weren't ready to help yourself.
Yeah. And one of the things that actually Jamie, my therapist, told me, and she's 100% right. She goes, "You love going around." This is when I first started seeing her. She goes, "You talk about how you like going around helping other cops and doing these presentations." She said, "It's all well and good, but you can't help somebody if you're not healthy." And exactly. I said, "I'm fine." She's like, "No, you're not. She's just showing anger in here right now. So let's get you better, and you will be better at your presentations, and you will be better at talking about it." And she was 100% right. Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, and it's even better that you found somebody that was, you know, a police officer to talk to.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because again, she actually lost her job due to opiates.
Really? Okay.
She got involved in a crash and she got hooked on pain pills, and she lost her job. She ended up getting arrested, the whole 9 yards. And she was on the job for about 16 years. So she gets also the part about the agency not doing her a solid or anything like that. Like I'll give you the example of this was when her workers' comp ran out. She has no problem with me because she talks about this. When her workers' comp ran out, she was buying pills on the streets.
As a police officer.
As a police officer in her cruiser in uniform.
Oh.
So yeah. So talk about an all-time low in your life. And then when she got
and she was hurt on duty. Obviously, you said workers' comp.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Oh my God, that sucks. And there was probably, I mean, I don't know what year that was, but there was probably no program to at least wean her off of taking the opiates at that time.
No. And then to go a step further with it, when she went to get help, they actually set her up with an undercover cop, and she bought dope from an undercover cop. I mean, come on.
What do you mean? So no, I'm saying, what do you mean when she went to get help? Was she?
Well, when she came out with and said, "Listen, I'm struggling. I need to get some help," and then I'm not 100% sure how it happened,
right.
But when she went to buy her pills off her regular dealer or whatever, it was an undercover cop.
That's bullshit.
And then she got arrested. It's total bullshit. She got arrested right there in the spot, and that's a kick in the crotch. I don't care how you look at it. Like I said earlier, there's decent people that get hooked on opiates or something like that, and it's just why they set her up for failure. That's what they did.
Completely.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. That pisses me off.
Yeah.
But
it's just like like with alcohol, you have a cop that goes to work and he or she's drinking while she's working. We know it, we overlook it, we don't see it, and then all of a sudden they get in a crash and they kill somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Well, could we have prevented that crash? Possibly, right?
Yep.
You have that difficulty, but again, nobody wants to be a rat, and I truly. I get that 100%. We don't rat out other cops, but if we can't have that difficult conversation, we're gonna go into a gunfight with our brothers and sisters, but we're not going to help them because they're struggling with an alcohol problem or a mental health issue or something like that. I just don't understand that.
I completely agree with you. It's and especially with this day and age, I know that they're passing laws in New Hampshire to rat out officers if on different occasions, and it's absolutely absurd.
Yeah, and again, when you go back to your old school mentality, you just don't rat out other cops.
No, not at all.
That's the bottom. That's the bottom. Because number one, if you do, you might as well kiss your career goodbye because you're going to be labeled as a rat the rest of your career. Nobody's going to forget that.
Yeah.
I know that for a fact.
I mean, if there's something egregious, obviously, where you have to speak up about it and go to the proper authorities and whatnot. But for the I don't want to say trivial because but for the small things, like you're going to talk to them one-on-one, like a good supervisor does with somebody else, a good leader does with somebody else. So you have to talk to that person, smack them across the head and say, stop doing what you're doing. Let this be the last conversation and let's move forward. But yeah. And
then one thing I've always learned also was, and I used to say to the guys and girls all the time was this: don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution.
Right.
And they're like, well, what do you mean by that? I said, what do we do when we park car to car? I call it Cop 69. We park car to car. Okay? So, are we talking about, hey, listen, what a great day it is at work? What are we doing? We're bitching and complaining, right?
Yep.
That's all we're doing. Yeah, that's just cops. That's just the way we are. We could get a $10,000 raise, and I think we need 11, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, exactly.
So we're not doing our brothers and sisters any benefit whatsoever by causing more problems than coming up with a solution. That's I'll give you an example. One of the examples I give all the time was we were complaining one time at work about they don't buy our boots for us, our agency. They don't pay for our boots. Okay?
Yeah.
So I said to them, I said, well, look at it this way. First of all, $100 is not going to make me go broke. Number two, it's a tax write-off. Number three, if they buy our boots, guess what boots we'll wear? What they want us to wear.
Oh, yeah.
So one of the guys goes, well, how do we change it? I go, very simple. write a proposal, get bids from 3 companies or whatever, and propose it to whoever. And they did that, and now we have choice of 4 different boots we can wear. So it's a very simple fix. So instead of complaining about it, let's just do something about it. And it's kind of like when it comes to suicide and mental health, we know the elephant's in the room. Let's not ignore it. Let's do something about it. Let's build a better officer instead of damaging our officers. And these administrators that belittle their officers that are struggling, such as Jamie or myself or whoever, what good are we doing those officers? We're not doing any good at all.
No, exactly. You've invested the money to train that person and put them on the street and whatnot. So why wouldn't you send them to help to keep them running, good, and that way you don't have to pay for the simple fact that you wouldn't have to pay somebody else to go do it again and pay for a new person to go do it.
Exactly. And wouldn't you rather look at it this way? You put the news on, and all of a sudden they say some department had a suicide last night. Officer died by suicide. Oh my God, that's absolutely horrible. You're going to feel for them, on and on and on. You put the news on the next day. An agency had decided this mental health wellness program for officers because in 2019 we lost 228 officers to suicide. All right, rock on. All right, they're doing something. That's good.
Yep.
That's what we want to see. There's got to be, when something bad happens, there's got to be something good that comes from it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know if that makes sense or not.
No, it does. It completely does. No matter what,
such as this podcast right now. Something good's going to come out of this. There's no doubt in my mind that something good's going to come out of this.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, like you said, it's like something bad happening, then something good is hopefully this podcast to bring, at least it's bringing light to at least one issue that we've kind of just started talking about here with mental health and whatnot, and kind of bringing that to the forefront of people's mind when they talk about police officers. It ain't just the military that deals with PTS. It's any first responder organization, police, fire, EMS, dispatchers as well. So
absolutely.
I'm just trying to bring that to the forefront of people's mind when talking about police as well. And because you never know, I mean, who knows what Derek Chauvin, what call he went to before he was dealing with Mr. Floyd. So
sure. You
never know what kind of things he had going on in his life, and if the track record with what he had done. I mean, I don't want to get into politics and whatnot and what had happened. Right. But you look at what you see on the news about his track record as a police officer with all these different use of force complaints and whatnot. Did he have some sort of PTS that he was dealing with? And I'm not saying Minneapolis PD wasn't dealing with the officers and their mental health and mental well-being, but was he dealing with something that he did not want to come forefront because of the old stigma with regards to mental health, and especially within law enforcement?
Sure, and that's a huge possibility. Absolutely, because if you think about that, think about the video for a second. That 2 minutes and I think it was 48 seconds where he is just staring straight ahead. Yeah, he has no emotion on his face whatsoever. He's just staring straight ahead. In my opinion, it's only the Mark DiBona opinion, but in my opinion, he looked like he was possessed.
Yeah, I understand.
But you actually hit the nail right in the head. We don't know what's going on, and we're not making excuses for him by any means.
No, not at all.
Not by any means. It's a horrific incident, horrible incident, and it's changed policing in America forever, forever and a day. But yeah, what led to this? Was he struggling with something? We don't know. Was he pissed off at the department? Was he? We just don't. Is he having marriage problems?
Yeah, exactly.
We just don't know this. Could that have prevented George Floyd's death? If somebody pulled him aside because he was struggling, it's a possibility. Sure, absolutely, it's a possibility.
Exactly.
So,
and that's on us, the ones that are still in the career, to get rid of that stigma. I mean, like I said, my 10 years, it's kind of, I'm not going to say it hasn't gone away, or I'm not going to say it has gone away. Excuse me. It's still semi there, but I think being upfront and honest about it. If somebody is going through an issue and talking about it within the police department, don't feel ashamed to go and talk to your supervisor. I mean, you may not want to, but you have to talk about it, and you have to get it out there, at least for your own well-being. And if I can guarantee if you told 22-year-old me that I have to go to a psychologist and talk about what's going on, I probably would have said, screw you, I don't need to go talk to no shrink, and would have ignored you.
I agree 100% with
you know,
you. Yep.
But if you change it to, I have to go talk to the brain mechanic, and I have to go talk to the guy who, because if you think about it, one little thing is going to get your car to line, you know, your brakes start going, your rotor start going, and then it turns into whatever other jobs you're going to need to have done in your car since then, because you started letting the simple things go. It's the same thing with your brain. If you don't deal with it from the start, then you're going to need to go to the brain mechanic to get that major overhaul on yourself, and you're going to be out of commission for a while. It's the same thing. If you told me I needed to go to the brain mechanic and get realigned, I'd have been like, oh, whatever, let's go. But if you told me you need to go to a shrink, you know what? It's that simple change of words that, you know, may make somebody go and get help when they need it.
It's a tough hurdle to do that, because as cops, we're suspicious by nature.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll use an example. Like, I'm a big advocate for mental health. I call it the mental health checkup. Once a year, you go to a therapist.
I think it should be mandated almost by law.
Yeah. Oh, but try and sell that. That's a whole different.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So
for us, I know, for New Hampshire, the only time you go to a mental health professional is, one, if you've been involved in an officer-involved shooting, probably deadly incident, but an officer-involved shooting, you have to go, and a lot of that is agency specific. I believe that the state law says you have to go. I know my agency law says that you have to go, and they will open it up to your family as well, which I think is a good thing that they're kind of, you know, that they state that in their policies. But other than that, the only other time you go to a shrink or a counselor is when you get hired and you answer those 500 questions of, one, do you feel safe carrying a weapon in public? You know, how many times were you on the front cover of the newspaper? Like the random ass fucking questions that they ask you, the 16 different ways they ask you the same question, and
and your head is spinning by the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. And you come out of there and you have no idea you just feel like you just got
what just happened.
Tuned up. Oh yeah. But
I can remember one question was, would you rather pick flowers or catch a bank robber? So I checked off bank robber. Oh my God, you're too aggressive.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's like what the that's what I want to go do. It's why I'm doing this.
Yeah. It's just one thing I want to say also is about peer support units.
Mm-hmm.
Is a peer support unit, and here's where I always have my differences with the peer support unit from my agent was this: a peer support unit should be proactive, not deactive. And what I mean by that, the peer support officers should not be waiting for somebody to come up and talk to them, or wait for a major incident to happen, or something to that effect. The peer support unit should be going around to roll calls saying, again, in 2019, we lost 228 officers to suicide. They're talking about what the signs and symptoms of PTSD, PTSI, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen, it's okay to have. It's okay. I use this phrase all the time. It's kind of cliche, but it's okay not to be okay.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and show these officers that, and I guarantee there'll be some officer, whether you're in a 2-man department or you're a 40,000-man department, somebody's going to listen to you and say, "Shit, you know, they're right. I get this." So let's be so proactive, you know, instead of being deactive. I just don't understand that. Don't wait to be attacked. You know, let's be the frontline defense.
Yeah, you're completely right. You're completely right. I think a lot of those, even those peer support units, I think a lot of them started even after the wars and the veterans getting back from Iraq and Afghanistan. And that's when I can think of in this neighborhood this state. I think that's when the neighborhood of that time when they kind of evolved, and I just think it was right around then. It wasn't even
right.
I think it was mainly the larger agencies hiring a lot more veterans coming back, and then them realizing that they needed to support the veterans, not support them in like a cliche sort of way, but to actually support them. And they started those peer support units, and that's when I can think of that they actually kind of started. But yeah, they're definitely, like you said, and you know, one of the first interviews I talked with the president of Humanizing the Badge, and I don't know if you've spoken with anybody from their organization as well, but he is a police chaplain in the state of Michigan, and they have their own academy to go to actually be a police chaplain. They're kind of like the second man when they go to this academy. That's what they learn, is like all the second man things. Their main responsibility is to be a chaplain and be there for the people, but they can affect arrests and work details and all of that other stuff. But what his main focus is to literally ride around with the guys while they're on shift, meet up with them, talk about what's going on. That way it kind of builds that rapport with the officers that they're working with. So when they have to go, if they want to go talk to somebody, that they already have the rapport with whoever it is, and that's already established. So it's easier to break down that first hour of a conversation that you have with a stranger. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Because think about that for a second. To piggyback on what you're saying, you go speak to a stranger. You're going to tell them your darkest secrets in an hour. That's pretty intense.
No,
that's really intense.
When I was going to the counselor, the hour would be up, and I feel like I just got used because I'd feel good at the end of it. But then I'm passing money over. I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Like,
what just happened here?
Yeah.
One of the first therapists I went to in Orlando, I sit down, we shake hands. Hey, nice to meet you. Blah blah blah. He goes, well, let me tell you a little background about myself. And I'm like, okay, I'm down with that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's talking about all the girls he banged in college. That goes on for about a half an hour.
Are you kidding me?
Then he's telling, yeah. And I'm like, dude, I'm not living through you right now. And I'm like, this is obviously we're not connecting here. So then when I finally got to talk, he goes, okay, well, I'll see you at the next section. We only got 5 minutes to go, and just give me your credit card. So I'm like, you won't be seeing me again. It's just you gotta feel comfortable, and I like what you said, doing the ride-alongs, and that way they see, they may never use you, or they may use you all the time, but one way or another, when you're struggling, you're going to remember things like that. You are going to remember. And I remember when I was struggling, I thought about our peer support unit, and then I pulled it up on to see who the members were, and I'm like, not so much. So because either they're politically correct or they're trying to get promoted.
Wouldn't be getting much support there.
Exactly. So your heart and soul has to be into it.
It's got to be the right people.
It does. It's like this. A guy that works for Mercedes is not going to try and sell you a Ford Explorer. He's going to try and sell you a Mercedes. So you've got to have that. Absolutely. Yeah. We're definitely on the same sheet of music, no doubt about it.
Now, Mark, how would people go and if they themselves need to talk to somebody, or if they know somebody that needs help, and what can they do right now besides going right to the website? What kind of resources do you guys offer?
Well, we have there's a cop line. That's a great resource. We have that on our website page. That's manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
What is the cop line? What's the number for it?
I think it's 1-800. Actually, let me pull it up here. I got my computer right in front of me here, and I actually saw it.
It looks like 1-866-COP2. The number 2 COP.
I believe. Whoops! Oh, I clicked the wrong website.
That's
sorry,
okay.
Guys.
Yeah, that's all right. No worries.
Yeah. So
we can always edit this part out, so it's fine if it doesn't work out.
It's 1-800-267-5463 cop line.
1-800-267-5463.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And that
another good one is, which I actually hear really good things about also, is, and I'll give you another number, it's 1-866-COP2-COP.
That was the first one I saw. I looked on the right. I didn't look on the left. Okay,
they're really good. And then if the National Suicide Prevention line is really good also.
And the Veterans Crisis line you guys have right there as well.
I was just getting ready to say that. Yeah. That also.
And
so those. But I will tell you, cop line is not a crisis line.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody called and said, "Hey, listen, I'm suicidal," they're going to get you help. Absolutely, no doubts. But it's not a crisis line per se. If that makes any sense.
Yeah. What does their organization do?
It's manned by retired officers.
Okay.
I went through their training, so I know this. It's ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week by retired officers. You can call up and say, listen, I burnt my pizza and I'm pissed. Or you can talk about the job. You can talk whatever you want to talk about. They're there to listen, and then they have in the database they have their resources where they can turn you on to whoever if you're willing to speak to somebody else, like a mental health professional or something to that effect. They're really good at what they do.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be job related. It could be literally anything. I was at a conference last week in Virginia speaking. And one of the girls I actually went through training had a table cop line, and I heard her say that. Her exact words were, "Listen, you can call up and talk about your dog took a shit in the living room and get pissed." Yeah. So, and we'll listen. So, and that's the luck I have. That's the calls I would get.
I understand that. Now, do you guys?
That asshole lieutenant that I hate that you work for would be calling. I'm like, where do I know this voice from?
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, I'm gonna pass you off to somebody else.
Right.
Before I just hang up on you.
Yeah.
Now, does BlueHelp itself? Do they offer any? I would guess some sort of training for officers or agencies or anything like that.
Yeah, we can provide peer support training for agencies.
Is that how to build a peer support unit, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
How to do that? And that's all on the website if you click under training. And then also we provide presentations. We do COVID is actually obviously put a damper on quite a bit of things.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of when we start to get active again, do a lot of presentations. We speak at conferences. We'll come into your PD and speak, or anything like that. We're very supportive.
I mean, not to get too law enforcement on you, but does that sort of stuff cost money?
Yeah. What we normally will ask for is travel expenses.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's about it. We obviously again, to plug BlueHelp for a second.
Yep.
We live off our donations, but we're not going to tell an agency. I can tell you this for a fact. No, we're not going to help you. Absolutely not. No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, well, that's awesome to hear because everything. I hate it. It's all come down to money, but that's
unfortunately it does. Yeah, it really. But when I say a lot of times when I do presentations to command staffs, mm-hmm. I did one a couple of years ago in Montana to a county-wide task force of captains and above, and everything was the money. Well, we don't have money for this. We don't have money for that. And I said, well, listen, you have enough money to buy your officers guns, vests, tasers, and all that stuff. Find the money in the budget for wellness, or because it was the way actually what I was speaking about was how to start to develop a peer support unit. I said, but here's an idea: your county, why don't you just do a county-wide peer support unit? That way, every department within the county will give you an officer, 2 officers, 3 officers, or whatever.
Because we've never done it that way, so why would we do it? We've done it this way for the past 20 years.
Right, we're territorial. That's what it is.
Oh yeah.
It's like when you go to a crash, you're at the city county line. Well, that's on so and so. Yeah, okay. You know what I mean? So, but again, if you just build a team, because the bottom line is we're on the same team. That's the bottom line. And so to give a little, you got to take it, but you've got to find the resources to help our officers.
Yeah.
You just have to.
And the money is there. They always beg that they're poor, but the money is there.
The money's there. It just. It was kind of a really kind of a dumb story, but it's kind of funny in a way. We were fighting for our raises a couple of years ago. Hey, listen, we need raises. We need this. We need that. Mm-hmm. They're coming back on us saying, no, we can't afford it. Money's tight. And they went out and bought a snow cone truck. To pass out snow cones.
For what?
And you talk about you tell me. I have no. So that was one of those meetings that I had to get up and leave before I lose my retirement.
When they're trying to win hearts and minds, what I mean, what like I don't get it. Okay.
Well, it's for community policing.
Yeah. Okay.
But
that seems like a waste of money.
Find out in the agency's defense that truck was donated and stuff like that. But the problem is perception is reality. They never came out and said it was donated or allegedly donated. or something that all we saw was we're fighting for our raises, and they went out and bought the snow cone truck.
Yeah,
I mean,
my God.
WTF? Yeah. So, yeah. So,
oh yeah.
It's just, yeah.
That's
so it is what it is.
Yeah. That sort of stuff happens. I'd say far too often, unfortunately.
It does. And there are some good administrators out there. There really is.
Oh, without a doubt.
They really care about their guys and girls.
Yep.
And their hands are tied, because the city controls their money, or the town controls their money, or just whatever. But you've got a chunk of that money has got to go to the officers.
Exactly. And there are good administrators out there that realize if somebody is coming to them with a problem that they need to talk to somebody about, that they aren't going to shun this person, they aren't going to ban them. And obviously, a lot of people think that if you go talk to your bosses about what's going on in your life, mental health and whatnot, that you're going to have your gun taken away from you, you're going to have your badge, and you're not going to ever have a job again. That is the last thing. And
right.
a lot of agencies, a lot of administrators have gotten away from that thinking. Because it definitely was there when I started, and it's like I said, it's barely even there now from what I've seen just across the board. So,
I agree.
Yeah, it's the last thing that's ever going to happen to you if you need to talk to somebody. I mean, I just want everybody to know that and get that.
Right.
So it looks like you guys have actually done a lot for law enforcement, and from Karen building this organization back in 2015 to what it has been now. What do you guys have planned for the rest of the year? You said you have that ribbon cutting in late September, and then what else do you guys have going on?
Yeah, looking forward. The Texas event is huge, obviously. And we're starting to look at now our Survivor Dinner, which is next May.
Is that during Police Week at DC?
Yeah, but we're not sure if we're going to have it in D.C. or not. Okay. We haven't decided yet logistically where we're going to have it.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking forward to that. We're looking forward to the kids' camps I was talking about earlier for the survivors, the children of officers that died by suicide. We're looking forward to doing our presentation, getting back on board with presentations, training. And but again, COVID is just really, my God, it's really hurt us.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
Yeah, but that's our future right there. It's full steam ahead. We're going to help officers and their families to the best of our abilities.
How can people support you?
On the website, there is a donation button.
Okay.
You can support us that way. We also we sell T-shirts, challenge coins. That way also supporting us also is just getting the word out that hey, BlueHelp is out there. That's a huge support. But obviously we live off our donations. That's being a nonprofit. So
understandable. Well, Mark, I really appreciate you coming on the show, man. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to me that you were able to share what had gone on in your life and to raise kind of they kind of actually raised your second career, I would say. From that happening, you've grown.
There is life after the job.
Yeah, but you've grown like in a personal way to deal with what you were dealing with, and now look at what you're doing. You're helping other people. You're still making that impact, and it's an amazing thing.
Well, thank you, and I truly appreciate that. And I truly appreciate you guys taking the time to acknowledge this issue, which is obviously alive and well in the first responder world.
Exactly.
And you guys are taking a taboo subject, and we're talking about it. And I take that as a compliment that you reached out to us, and I owe you guys one. I definitely owe you one.
No, I appreciate it. It's the thing that got me interested in it was like Minneapolis, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, what issues was he dealing with to have that happen? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so
right.
I've dealt with my own shit, and I've been on your website years ago just to see, look at it and whatnot, and it's just great what you guys have been doing, and I fully support it, and here to support it, here to talk about what's going on. It's just that stuff that never gets talked about, and I think it needs to be talked about it. And you know what? I'm kind of that same. Not quite to the level you were about just speaking up with stuff, but I'm maybe a few notches below, and I definitely love.
like I said earlier, it's okay not to be okay. Trust me when I say that.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine to have a bad day or have several bad days.
Yep.
But as long as you acknowledge the issue.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, when I got sworn in on June 6, 1985, if you told me on September 16th, 2020, I'd be on a podcast talking about mental health. First of all, I'd say, what the fuck is a podcast? but talking about my suicide attempt or something like that, I'd be like, this is insanity. That's what this is.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way. So we've came a long way. We really have.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome because I can only imagine what you went through when you started with just like the taboo subject. Not going to talk about it. Not going to acknowledge it. We're going to put it away in the corner and move on. But that's awesome.
Remember, I'm sure you heard the expression "choir practice."
Yep.
I drank some serious beer back in my day.
Well, I appreciate
beer, but
I appreciate you coming on, Mark. Phil, do you have anything for him, bud?
Mark, just want to say thank you. I appreciate your courage and your story and talking to us tonight. It was really insightful, and I hope that there's people out there who need to hear it, and they hear it, and from there they go on and get the help that they need.
Well, John, Phil, I truly appreciate this. I love you, brothers, and thank you for what you guys do. And feel free to reach out anytime, and I'd be more than happy to help out with anything I can.
Awesome. I mean, definitely. We'll plug this on our Instagram page. Phil, how can people support us if they want to do so? I mean, our podcast, and how can they also support?
So they can find us at Point Man Podcast.
Look at that! You remember after a month of not doing a podcast.
It's been a month. Yeah, you've had me off the job for so long. At Point Man Podcast, wherever you can listen to a podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcast.
There you go.
I think I'm missing one. Probably
Google, a few others.
Google Podcast.
Google Podcast. That's the one your dad listened to us on.
Yep.
So definitely find us on those platforms. You can find us on Instagram at Point Man Podcast. You can message us on there. You can, like we've talked about before, every message that you send us will get read. I mean, because of all those supporters, we have like 113 followers right now on Instagram, but we're going to bump those numbers up.
Numbers, we got to bump that
exactly.
up.
But
absolutely. Yep.
We'll bump those up. But every message that you send does get eventually read, even if it's good, bad, and different. I mean, Mark, it was literally, I think it was within the first 24 hours of creating the Instagram page for the podcast that we had first hater mail with the screw the police and all that sort of stuff. It was
right. Well, you almost have to kind of expect that in these days, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah. So if you guys need to talk, I don't care. Any time, day or night. I mean, I'm working midnights quite often, so shoot us. And I'm the one that kind of manages the Instagram now to give Phil the likeness to do that.
I'm still not a big boy yet. So.
But if you guys want to talk, I mean, we're here all the time. It's not monitored 24/7, but you know what? Shoot us a message on there if you want to just vent or whatever's going on. Excuse me, in your life. I've already had somebody do that once. So you know what? I don't have an issue with that. I'll monitor it all the time. I'll get you to Mark or whoever else I can to have somebody talk to you, and like I said, it doesn't hurt to have somebody do that. You can also
we're all in this together.
Exactly. You can also email us at pointmanpodcast@gmail.com and go from there. Mark, you have anything, any closing words or anything, bud?
No, I just want to thank you guys again, and I'm just going to recant my phrase. It's okay not to be okay, and we're all in this together. We're brothers and sisters. We're in arms. We can get through this, absolutely. Exactly.
Well, for Phil over there, I'm John, and I hope you guys have a good day.